Hello my crafty friends, it's Beverly here over at Craft and Chaos, and I'm here to do the video, the second part of the cupcake, and I had a screen card that was on the same picture that I showed on Facebook, and we did get plenty of people wanting to see that. I've also posted another couple of videos across there, and that would be my unicorn head shaped card, which we're going to have a look at, which I also posted that people seem to enjoy. And if we just see that, it comes with a base layer for the card, an insert for the card. The main is separate, so you can piece that on. I've done a piece where you can add that on, an eye underneath so that you can position it where you want, and a white unicorn horn that you can all paper piece these things back on. So that's the unicorn head, which I'll be doing in a video shortly. I've also done I'm going to be releasing this supplementary one, which is the unicorn with the rainbow and clouds, which is another quite simple file to do, and I'll release that one as a video too. These files are available over on my blog for free at beverly10.blogspot. So if you head over there, you'll be able to just download the files, but people were interested on actually how they were made, so we'll be making videos on that. Okay, so I'm going to just select that one, and finally the last one that I showed on Facebook last night was the Hickory Dickory Dock, based on the Hickory Dickory Dock nursery rhyme, with the clock and the mouse. And the mouse, if we just drag the mouse off, you can see it's in two parts. That's a cutting part and that's a drawing part, and I'll show you how to create the drawing part. And obviously that technique can be used in other projects. I've given you a written sentiment. I'll show you how to create the dial of the clock. It took a bit of finagling, but once I'd worked it out, it actually is quite simple. So I'll show you how to do that. And again, you've got your base card, which is folded here with a dotted line as the score line. You also get an insert that will fit it perfectly, an outside matting layer, and then the inside card, which it looks like this. And then you get the pieces that you can add on, the pendulum, the clock face, etc. Some of it's drawn, some of it's set to cut, dependent on obviously the clock face, and the greeting is set to draw, as is the mouse. Most of this and all of the 4 stitching is set to draw, so I will be showing you how to make that. But today we're going to be making the screen card, so if I just pull it up so you can see what we're aiming for. And again, oh dear, there we go, don't save. If we can get rid of the cupcake, because I've already made the video for that one over on my YouTube channel. And we're going to be making this screen card, and all I did was make it from some basic shapes that are already in the scan and cut machine. So we're going to start off by bringing on a square, a half circle, an oval, the kite shape. When I find the kite, I know it's here somewhere, might be further up this way. Here we are, this one, the kite shape. And we'll take one of we'll leave it at that for now, because I can't just think what else we need. It'll occur to me as we go through making the card. So first of all, I'm going to turn this shape into a rectangle, and to make it easy, we're going to just do it 6 high by about 4 wide, because once we've made the file, we can always resize it to whatever size it needs to be. Actually, I think I'm going to make it 5 by 3, and then I won't have a problem fitting it on my mat. Okay, so that's the basic sort of screen panel, one of, if you will. So the next thing we need to do is think about how we're going to get this next bit on. So I'm going to duplicate the square, or rectangle as it now is, and we're going to shrink it down, and we're going to make it about 2.5 inches wide, and we're going to position that at the top like so. Now, every one of these that you make, if you make it separately every time, once you've made the file, I suggest you save it and then you don't have to go through all these steps again. We're just going to make that slightly less, so 2.25, and then we're going to select both shapes and centre it. So what we've got here now is two rectangles, and I'm going to weld them together. Next, I'm going to bring on the semicircle, and we're going to shrink it down, and we're going to make it 2.25 wide, and then it's the same width as the other shape, and we're going to just make it less tall, if you will. So I'm going to take the height down like so, maybe just go up just ever so slightly, that'll do. And we're going to select both of those, make sure they're lined up in the middle, and then I'm going to move this one down until it's just overlapping the shape underneath. So I'm just using the arrow keys and moving it down, taking a look at it. It's nearly there but not quite. So I'm just going to go a little bit further, and I think we've just overlapped at that point, and now I'm going to weld. Okay, now we need to bring on another shape, so I'm going to bring on this, not that one, the other one, a rounded square. Shut that down, and we're going to resize this to about 3.5, and we'll see how that's looking. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit too wide. Excuse me while I just select it. So we'll make it 3 inches and see what that's looking like. 3 inches wide is about as wide as what the card is now, so we need to go about 2.5. Like I say, these are all just arbitrary units. You can adjust them to whatever you wish. Now I just want to make a little lip, if you will, at the side, just to give it that little bit of interest. So I'm going to select all, and I'm going to centralise it, move it down a little, and that's what we've got. So now I'm going to select both shapes and weld. So you can see now how we're getting that shape at the top of the screen. So the next thing I'm going to work on is the base. So what we're going to do, we're going to shrink this oval down till it's about 2.75 inches. Like so. I'm going to position it at the bottom, and we're going to centre it, and then we're going to weld. Okay, so that's giving us that little dip bit there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring on a triangle. When I find it, triangles, and it's the right angled triangle that we want, I believe, and I'm going to rotate that. I could be wrong, I've slept since I did the file. So we're looking to make this bit here, so we want it to be, just getting the slant in the wrong position, so I'm just going to flip it till I get it right. So that's kind of, I don't think it was this one that we used, you know. Let me just have another look at the shapes, because I've slept since I did this. Okay, let's have a look what we've got. Which one was it? It might have been this one. So let's try this one. And we're going to flip it, and we're going to shrink it down, and we need it to be, try 90 if that's right. We're going to shrink it down. It is this one, I remember now. And we're going to position it up to the left. We just need to take off an inch, smidge off that thing. I've remembered now. It was this shape, but then I cut a little bit off the bottom to make it squared off at the bottom. So all I've done is brought on a square which I'm going to use to cut this shape. So I'm going to select both, process the overlap and subtract. Now if that happens, all that means is that the square's not on top. So I'm going to bring it to the front and we'll try it again. Subtract. Now we've got the bit that we wanted. I've somehow got not a straight one, gone quite far enough up the shape. So try that once more and subtract, and that's the shape. So we're going to now turn it 90 degrees, and can you see now how that is kind of that leg shape that we've just made? So if we bring this up, and we need to just shrink it down, so we're going to take it in widthways like so till I get the position roughly right. So I'm just positioning, I'm going to take down the width, not quite so much. Let's do it by manual, so we'll do it to 0.8, and I think that's looking okay at that. So now I'm going to take a duplicate of that and move it across, and now we're going to line this shape up to the left of the dresser, if you will, or the screen. Shunt it up a little bit, and then we need to flip this one, and we need to have this one lined up to the same part. So we're just going to shunt it along and up. Just going to zoom in so we can see what we're doing on that section. So I'm just going to go on the zoom tool and zoom in. So once I've got the shape so it's directly on the line, and that's there now, so then I can select both of those shapes and we're going to line them up to the top so that now we know that they're level. And then we're going to select everything and weld. So that's given us the bottom part of the screen. Zoom fit to mat. So now we've got to that stage, and I'm just going to make it now about 3.5 inches wide, but leave the rest the same. So now we're going to use this shape, and I'm going to take a duplicate and I'm going to shrink it down so it's nice and small, or smaller, and we're going to rotate it 30 degrees, and we're going to position it next to, I want to go a little bit more than 30 degrees, so I'm just trying to get it so that it's parallel. So I'm just doing it here. I want it parallel with this shape, so it could perhaps be, I think it's going to be 45, and that's perfect. So we're going to have it at 45 like so. Then I'm going to make a duplicate of that. I'm going to flip it and move that into the opposite position over here. So now I'm going to move that up. So I'm just using the grid lines for this, and if I zoom in you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to go on the selection tool, and the grid lines are here, so I'm going to move up to the grid, like so. And then once we're on the grid, which I think we are now, just going a little bit further, I think we're nearly on that grid line, and we'll just go on the snap to grid so we know we're exactly on it. Oops. And we'll take it down to 1/2 inch. So now they're both at the same distance from this line here. So now if we nudge this one right up, we need to take off the snap to grid now, or else it's going to do it in. Once we get it lined up so it's directly on top, we do the same at this side. get it exactly on, and then it's lined up. It's just gone one too many, like so. And then if we go back on Snap to Grid and move it out once, and again move it out once. No, we don't seem to be. Let's just get this one on the grid, and then okay. So it's because this is an odd shape, that's why it's not letting us do that. So we'll scratch that and we'll do it by counting instead. If you can't get it to work because of the shape and the centre's a bit odd. Now we know that these two are level because we've tested that they're level at the top. So we know now that they are. I'm just going to take off that Snap to Grid because it's not letting me just manoeuvre it by a small amount. So now that's not quite lined up, and that's not quite lined up. That's it lined up with the shape. So we're just going to check again now that those are lined up to the top. Okay, if you're not as fussy as I am about it being perfect, you can skip this and just do it by eye. So now I'm going to count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'll go with 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I know that those are perfectly in the right place. So whilst they're in the right place, I'm going to select them and I'm going to layer and group them, and then we're going to display fit to mat. So now we've got this going on. So now we're going to take the centre shape again and we're going to duplicate it, and this time we're going to make it narrower before we drag it in smaller. So now we're going to drag that in like so, and we're going to rotate 45 degrees and see how that looks. And we may have to manoeuvre this a little bit further. Once we get it in position, we can always rotate more if we need to. So what I'm trying to do now is bring this, I'm going to move the screen out of the way. So the screen can move over there just a little bit whilst we get this one into position. So we're going to select it and we're going to move it into position, and it does need to be rotated a little bit more. So I'm going further round until we're more or less parallel with that one. So that's about 80 degrees. And if we duplicate that one, Command and D, and flip it again and take it to the other side, we know we're about right there. So now I'm just going to zoom back out a little bit and then I can see where we're at. So I want this one to be just 2, 3. That's the way, that's more the angle. So I'm just going to delete that again, make a duplicate of this one, then flip it, and it should be exactly the right angle for this side. So I'm just going to bring them in so that they're touching first of all, like we did with the last one. So we want them to be level up and touching, like so. And then I'm going to move it out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 8 out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, like so. And then all I need to do is just shrink this one down a little bit. So we're going, we need to just edit and we need to layer and group those two, so those two are grouped. Now we're going to shrink this one down, put it more in the middle. Then what we're going to do is select that and we're going to click center, so all those are centered to each other. Then we're going to layer and group. So this is for the top of the screen, okay, this part that's punched out here. So this again, it just depends on your preference. You can squish it down, you can just do it proportionally, or whichever suits you. So I'm just going to go so that it fits nice into that arch without overlapping. So we do need to come a little bit smaller, like so. Then I'm going to have a look how it's looking. I'm going to select everything and line it up centrally. And then checking that this is on top, we're going to select that and the screen, and we're going to use process the overlap and subtract. So now we've got our screen with the fancy detail at the top. So if we now put some colour in it, we can see that we've got that effect of a screen. A bit too bright, that you won't be able to see the score lines when we do those. So we'll make it, that colour's a nice colour and not too in your face on the screen. So we're going to display fit to matte. So we're nearly there now. Now obviously, if you're not happy with anything, you can always go back a step to the point where you've not. So we're just going to ungroup, because I just like that bottom layer to just be a little bit further down than where they are, like so. So I'm just going to layer and group. So you can always go backwards. Let's see how that's looking. That's much better. I'm much happier with that now. So I'm going to select everything again, and again we're going to centre it in the middle, and now we're going to select both, and we're going to process the overlap, subtract, and then we'll give it some colour to see what we've got. And I think that's much nicer now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to Command and D on mine is my shortcut for duplicate. You can right click and duplicate, or you can layer and duplicate. It's entirely your choice. So what we're going to do first of all is I'm going to bring these two together, select both, and I'm going to line them up to the bottom, and then I'm going to scooch this one over to the one next to it. Just keep going. When they get touching, now we're nearly touching, just one more and they'll be just touching, so they're just edge to edge now. So we only need to go a couple more, so we'll try one and see if that'll let us weld. And that's let us weld. So if we get it lined up again now, like we're going to get it a bit nearer so I don't have as much to move it in by. So we're going to line up to the bottom, and I'm going to scooch it along. That's not quite there. One more, that is there, and then one more across, up, and then I go and move it. So that should be one more across, I've undone, and then weld. So now we've welded those two shapes together. So all that needs to happen now is that we create a score line for our screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on the path icon, I'm going to go on the artboard and snap to grid, and I'm going to just go on this one and I'm going to click it along. So now we've got an idea where our score lines should be. So if we zoom in, we can see that we're pretty much here where that guide is for us, centre. So if we zoom out a little so that we can see the whole slide, we click on this path icon and we click at the top and hold our shift key down and drag out and double click to anchor the line, like so. So then we're going to go on that, and I'm going to resize the height a little because it's a little bit long, and I'm going to use the arrow keys to move it up into place, but I need to take off that spacing now, snap to grid, so that I can just get it in between, because I want it to be in between, but I don't want those dotted lines to be at the edge of the card, because that would cause a problem. It might tear the outer base card. So that's the first one. Then we're going to take a duplicate of that, and again we're going to go on the artboard and snap to grid so we can move it across to where it needs to be, so around about there. Then we can take it off and scoot it up into position. You can take a look at it, it just needs to go, and this one needs to go just a little bit more to the right, so I'm going to just move that across and check it. I'd say that's about in the middle now, and we'll do the same with this one, two across, and we look to be in the centre now. So now I'm going to layer, fit to matte, and then I'm going to select everything and I'm going to group. and that's now put those score lines into position so that they're not going to move when I manoeuvre the card. So it's not quite exactly the same as the one that I made last time, but it's certainly very similar. So that's the process by which I did it. It's just using the shapes to get the shape that you want to do, break it down into the individual parts so that then you can get this screen for yourself. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I will be getting back and doing the Hickory Dickory Dock and also the unicorn in due course. But I've got some cards to make now, so okay. If you've liked what you've seen, please hit the bell above to like and be notified. Thumbs up to like the video and hit the bell to tell you when another one of my videos has been uploaded. Okay, so hit the bell and select that you'd like notifications. I think you get 3 options now, and if you hit notify when a video is uploaded, you'll automatically get a message to whatever media you use, smartphones, etc, etc, and they will tell you when a video has been uploaded. Okay, it's nice to spend the afternoon with you, and I hope to see you next time. Take care and happy crafting. Bye.